Hey everybody, this is Paige from Mosaic Moments, and this is another episode of Design Breakdown. Today we are looking at this layout of the bridge die set. So here we have the 3x3 and 3x4 bridge die. There's also 4x5, but it was not included on this layout. And usually the bridge die makes one big circle, but in this case I did something a little different and made it more of an oval shape. Now, how I was able to do that was, first of all, I had to bring these sections closer together. So you can see on this layout how I have two long strips on the top and bottom. So that way I was able to bring these two rows that would normally be at the top and bottom a little bit closer to the middle. And then I had this space here, which you could fill with one long strip. It can make a great title right here. But I wanted a way to add more photos. So I decided to add 2x2 squares going across the middle, which I find very attractive. Altogether, this layout looks very clean. First of all, on this page, there is only one color of cardstock. There is some pattern paper, but the solid cardstock's just one color. So I have it here on the top and bottom. And I personally like to keep the same color through here as well. Now, I don't think it would look bad if these were all a different color. But with level 3 dies, I do like keeping the same color for the frames for a nice, crisp look. Now, there are some exceptions, so I'm not saying to not try making them in the different colors, but having them all be the same color can be great, and having the rest of your mats on the layout can also tie in to your die cuts, although, again, there are some exceptions to that. But altogether, we have nice contrast. We have this paper. I believe this one's Ferry Ride from our Nantucket collection. And the white really stands out on this and doesn't really distract from the photos. Now, notice I didn't use this lighter pink for my outline. And maybe I could have done that, but I think the white stands out a lot more than the softer pink. But it works great for the top and bottom because really you want to draw your eye to this section. Whereas the top and bottom, they are great, and I obviously turned them into journaling spots. The journaling spots are not the main attraction of the layout, you can say. So whatever is your focal point, or whatever, in this case, it's this one big, amazing design. You want to make sure that you choose colors that are going to draw the most attention, and then these are going to be more of your secondary colors, so it's not necessary to make these white or make these a really bold, very contrasting color on the background, because first of all, that might be too distracting from the main area, but it just is secondary to this section. So that's something to keep in mind. I've talked about hierarchy in a different videos, so you can think of this as the hierarchy of the layout. It has the most contrast from the grid paper, and this is more of a secondary feature that doesn't need to have a lot of attention. Another appealing part of this layout, of course, the bridge die is going to be appealing. No matter if you make it into a circle or an oval, it's a very appealing design. And I found this pattern paper that coordinated with the grid paper. So pattern paper choices are very important to a layout. So pick it out carefully. If you want to, you can take your grid paper and maybe some of your photos and go to the store and see what's going to work. I like getting paper pads sometimes, or has an entire collection that I find appealing as well. But here, I actually find these two spots interesting. So these two spots are in the 3x4. And you could do different things here. I could have added the journaling here. I could have added more of the photo. I have these little photos on the top and bottom, and I could have added more of those photos in here. And I just felt it was too busy. Everything on here is very close together and condensed in one section. And in the end, I chose to use the back of the same grid paper color. So because of this very simple choice, everything else feels like it has breathing room. And so you want to look at your layout and say, do I feel comfortable with the way everything's laid out? And if not, if everything's feeling like too much, it may be an opportunity to simplify something about your layout. And just doing something like this, it's really small, but it makes a huge impact. And the reason why I was able to get away with it being so simple is because I have the pattern paper here, which has a lot of colors going on. It's actually very helpful too with this pattern paper that it only filled up small sections of in reality the whole page. So something else to keep in mind with pattern papers with multiple colors and a lot of busy stuff going on, and something I love about the dies is that you have these small spaces to fill, and it makes it so the pattern paper does not look overwhelming on your layout, and that is a wonderful tool to use for pattern paper. So here you got this, like I said before, paper with multiple colors and more things going on, and that could feel too busy, but with the bridge dies, it doesn't. It feels like it fits the layout perfectly. It doesn't feel too overwhelming. And with these two spots, it feels even more simplified and does not feel over the top. I think that's why this layout is very attractive. Along with the really fun color scheme, I do like this pattern paper here. And as I've said before, going simple can go a long ways, and you really don't need much pattern paper in your layout to make it stand out. And again, the bridge dies makes that so easy. All right, that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comments if you liked this layout. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.